Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a divorce, valuation, and mediation expert in St. Louis, Missouri. During this episode, we will discuss how to make uncomfortable situations comfortable with Mike Gregory. Mike is a mediator in Minneapolis, Minnesota, author of 13 books regarding various topics about valuation, collaboration, and the creator of the collaboration effect. I was actually talking with my son about this yesterday because I said, but it was in context with his siblings. And I was like, you're the oldest, and um, really you can be a part of escalating things or de-escalating. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so can you kind of help us understand some of the ways that we can de-escalate not only ourselves, because as a mediator, you really do have to get into that middle of the like non-partial, neutral kind of brain position. But then so we can de-escalate ourselves, but then how do we help de-escalate others when maybe they've gone past that 6 or 10 seconds, and now we either have to make a decision, are we going to end the meeting, or do we have the capacity to move forward?
Well, as a mediator, I'll hit that first. I might actually set the tone before the session. And I would talk with the folks beforehand. There's what's called, in mediation, there's what's called a facilitative mediation. You're working on a given problem. There's transformative. You're trying to transform relations. And there's evaluative, that a mediator would say, well, if you go to court, this is what I think is going to happen. That's like a retired judge. Well, in facilitative mediation, you're using certain techniques. And in transformative mediation, you're focusing on, can two people transform the relations so they can be professional with one another? Mm-hmm. So some of the things to think about beforehand, to talk with the parties beforehand, is things like, I know it's personal, but we want to not take it personally. We want to stay focused, stay focused on the important things, whatever the important things are. We want to stay focused on that. And then you actually make a decision whether you're going to be angry or not. Now, I had a discussion with my daughter when she was younger. She goes, no, I don't, Dad. When I get angry, I'm angry. And that's the way it goes. And I've come back and said, actually, you do have the choice to do that. It wasn't accepted at first. So I had to actually, it's a prove it, Dad. Well, I can go on the internet and I can prove it to you. Here, you have a choice to get angry or not. And you can use active listening and coach somebody ahead of time on what that is. We've talked about this. Paraphrase, ask open-ended questions, suspend judgment, summarize, empathize, don't offer advice. And for me, I'm a rapid talking guy. When I actually go into mediation, I read a prayer beforehand. I read this several times. I read the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. This helps me. And in that it says, be there not so much to be consoled as to console, not so much to be understood as to understand. And it helps put me in a place where when I come in, I'm coming in calmer. And what I do is I slow down. I'm in a mediation, I talk about this fast. I'm much slower to react. I play poker with a face that's calm. So if something's funny, I'm not just going to break out and laugh. And if something is sad, I'm not going to go super sad. I'm going to maintain something more neutral, but slowing down. And then that empathetic is the feelings. So not just summarize what I've heard or paraphrase what I've heard, but I'm empathetic that, yep, if that happened, that must have really hurt. That must have really hurt. Yeah, that must have made you very angry. So I'm affirming with them whatever they presented. Now, somebody, for example, somebody might yell out, I am not angry. Well, and I would say, I hear you saying you're not angry, but when I listen to your tone and your body language, I think right now, maybe there's a higher sense of anger than you may realize. Okay? Be aware of, I'm saying to them, be aware of your emotional triggers. Your hands get tense. You start to tense up yourself. You can feel what that is in your back and spine and on your head. There are different elements. You have a change in eye contact. You went from this to this. There are things that you've done, are triggering you. And as I said earlier too, suspend judgment. That's you talking to yourself. That's a self-distancing of telling me, Mike, I'm not going to go there. I'm right now listening. I want to focus on listening. I can talk about what I think later, but I need to really listen. And we're in the Midwest. You're in St. Louis. I'm in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I do these all over the country. But I can tell you, when I move more towards the Northeast, the politeness seems to miss. The please and thank yous and respectful of one another's, and it's more of in your face. I did a mediation once on Long Island, east of New York City, and I have these two parties. And I just agree, will be respectful, blah, 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 yes, okay, we're good. We get into it, and one party stands up and starts using the F-bomb at the other party. The other party stands up and starts doing the F-bomb at the other party. And I'm here, and I said, I put my hands up, and they look at me, and I said, guys, are we okay here? And they both said, they looked at me like, yeah, what's the big deal? This is the way we talk. I was like, okay, I'm a Midwestern guy. If somebody stands up and starts using the F-bomb in a mediation, this is a big deal here.
Mm-hmm.
So politeness, understanding the parties where they come from. I've mediated between gangs, and again, the parties are going to interact the way that they interact with each other. We need to be sensitive to that. And I mentioned earlier, work with the other party to say yes. Mm-hmm. What are things we can, oftentimes in a mediation, in a tough situation like yours, are there any things that we can agree to? What are the things that we can agree to? Mm-hmm. By setting a tone on what we can agree to, that helps. And I mentioned earlier, again, self-distancing and positive self-talk. Come on, Mike, you can do this. You can do this. Stay focused, Mike. Don't go there. Okay. So those are all things that are for me personally, but sometimes working with the party beforehand, I build trust with them. I'm talking with them about when we go in here, are there some things that I can help you with? There's things we can talk about. And I give them handouts too on things you can do. And even there's language that we use that's aggressive language or more neutral language. So I sometimes have handouts on language we want to be more proactive with, to put things in neutral terms so we can help avoid what's perceived as being aggressive, one party or another. But it's heavily dependent on the people.